Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ideas to Profits, the Catalyst podcast. On Friday, you got a rule, which basically said it's not what you know, it's who you know, and more importantly, how you engage them. I'm here with my co-host, Amber. I'm here with one of my very favorite people, and I must have to disclose, he's the better looking one of the family. So, Mitchell, thank you for doing this. I really I'm looking forward to it. You're our first one, actually.
Oh, goody. Guinea pigs.
Yes,
Love it.
yes. So as you know, we've had all sorts of interesting technological problems. And folks, I found out something. My son's a lot smarter than me when it comes to technological issues.
Generation.
Yes.
Generation.
Okay,
He'll be all
fine.
right. He'll be all right.
So-
Welcome, Mitchell. It's so good to have you.
Thanks, Amber.
This is part of why we enjoy these podcasts, is because they're fun. They're not designed to be very dry and educational. They involve a lot of repartee. But Mitch, you read the rule. What do you do for a living? Tell the folks.
So outside of dealing with 3 very active and small children, which occupy a huge amount of my time, I work for Jones Lang LaSalle, otherwise known as JLL, as a commercial real estate broker. I've been doing it now for about 23, 24 years. We primarily service Southwestern Ontario and focus primarily on industrial buildings, office buildings, and investment properties.
Didn't you just get an award?
Probably got an award. Yeah.
Well, you're not going to tell.
You know what? We just, we put in the work every day and good things happen. So that's my look on it.
Ladies
That's
and
great.
folks, I'm not proud of them, so don't worry about this, okay? Anyways, you read the rule. Most of what you do is making connections and pulling all those resources together. Is that rule appropriate to your industry?
1000%, not just to my industry. I would say to every industry. It's, I would say, an incredibly timely topic in this moment of AI and everything automated with chatbots. I believe that there is a real unique element with personal connection. We're all getting really used to dealing with chat GPTs and, all these AI agents that do the work for us and can even have conversations. But, personally, and I think where, the human condition is that we want connectivity with real people. And so I think if you can really build those relationships, especially with the AI investment and surge that's happening, I think you'll stand out even more. And I know we're going to get into a little bit more depth, but fundamentally, I do believe humans care largely that they trust other people. And the only way you get that is through personal connection and spending time with each other.
You putting together a lot of big deals, okay? And when you're to put together those big deals, you've got more than just one component. You've got a buyer, a seller, you've got financings, you've got municipal legislation, etc. How do you get all those people together, particularly in this very most challenging economic times?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think it's somewhat in my nature. Hint, hint. Someone kind of showed me early on that they can be the center of bringing people together. You're bringing people together right now. And so I think I come by it naturally, where you're just trying to rally a whole bunch of different stakeholders around a common objective. Now, I would argue the depth and the breadth of how many people are involved in these big decisions have grown substantially. There's a lot more visibility, a lot more need for transparency right now, more so than ever before. But again, I think this is where, really building trust with all those various stakeholders. A book you once told me about was The Challenger Sale.
Yep.
There's a second book in that series, which is really about having to build relationships with all sorts of different stakeholders in any decision, especially in big ticket items. So, I think I come by it naturally. It's something I enjoy doing, bringing people together, trying to find a common objective and rowing in the same direction. So I'm very thankful for the job I have.
It's interesting because I can remember seeing some of Mitchell's proposals. I see this book come out about this slick, right? and he's got everything in it. He knows everybody that's going to bring it into. But how do you start that process? That's how do you get started?
You mentioned this thick book, and sort of go back to the AI stuff again. There's so many tools out there. You can build a pitch deck that's got every single tool under the sun. You really need to learn in your own tool belt what you feel is really effective. And so for me, I have found some tools, some tactics, some strategies that I will repeatedly go to, but it's something that's been in the works for 46 years in honing not only what I find is effective, but also my style and how I engage with people, how I can be my authentic self with those people. Because again, I think all this conversation around renewal does come back to trust. And trust, in my opinion, is built and earned by authenticity, honesty, transparency, not trying to be someone or look like somebody that you want. So in a lot of ways, finding those authentic tools, your authentic voice, but this is older Mitch coming out now. I guarantee 22-year-old Mitch would not have said this because you just don't know your own voice. And so it has been a place of discovery. I would say it's a place of discovery for us all, to learn what your authentic, natural state is, what you enjoy doing, and how you engage with people.
It's interesting though. I watched you connect. And when you connect to someone and you talk to someone, you always come to them. And when you engage them, you talk to them about what's in it for them. And that must be the research, because that's the third part of the rule. It's knowing how to engage them that's vital. How do you go about, is that natural instinct or is...
So nature, nurture. You, how many businesses have you engaged with through your career and explored turnarounds, opportunities, growth? How many? Pick a number.
About 130.
130 companies. Now, again, I think I come by it easily, more naturally, because I would say part of my job is going into an organization and really with curiosity, exploring what they do, how they do it, what makes the people tick inside of those organizations. So for me, it's been easier because I do take a level of curiosity in how businesses work. Now, my my level of expertise is largely more around the real estate and how it integrates with the teams, the people, and the business to achieve their objectives. But in a lot of ways, you need to know the people and where they're coming from and what their needs are and what the company's needs are. And you've been a big resource for that.
Interesting, you just used the word, their objectives. Most people, when it comes to this rule, okay, yeah, they know how to put a plan together, they know how to do the market research, they know what they need in funding, right? They know where the people who can help them are, but they don't know how to talk to the people about what the objective is of the project. How do you go about finding out what people want to achieve? Because some people will encourage people to do that.
Yeah.
Or that's right when you best.
Some people don't even know what they want, right? I would say there's two parts for that though. First part is the business's objective, right? We want to grow the company, we want to be profitable, we want people to feel like they're contributing and have a role and have opportunities for growth, right? And who doesn't want that, whether it's a business, a sports team, a family, like everybody craves that. I would say though, where again, through time, sometimes lessons you learn elsewhere, and I'm sure you've seen this with your ventures, you can take those lessons and offer them as an idea to explore inside of another organization. Hey, competitor X over here has been doing this. Have you thought about doing that? So that experience in other realms, bringing it back to that, organization to engage with is kind of, I find a very helpful way to provide some value. But back to the point about who I think it's also about going deeper with the people, because as much as you want a business to succeed and you want to make money and all those are good things, ask yourself, why do you want that? Is there a deeper driver on a human and on a personal level? Yes. And I think that's where, like, when you can start to get to those levels of a relationship, and that is not given easily, that is earned, and that comes with time. Those levels of understanding of what is driving a person versus just, I just want to make more money. But why do you want to make more money? Why do you want to grow this organization? I find those have been some of the most rewarding engagements and relationships in business. Again, very fortunate that I get to deal with a lot of different types of businesses and people. And, those relationships that go to that extra layer of depth, I find really rewarding.
It's interesting. I come back to the rule because one of the most important things about that rule is it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's gathering intelligence. It's being a spy. It's finding out what's going on when you prospect. I
Yeah.
remember you used to say to me, my folks or my team have to make X number of calls
Yep.
a day
Yep.
to talk to people to find out what's going on, because it's like any spy agency. And particularly in this economy, the opportunities are not always as visible as they used to be.
Agreed. Well, I would take it even a level of further, which is the curiosity piece. If you can go into a conversation, whether it's researching a company before you kind of engage with them, if you take a real authentic level of curiosity into how that business is doing and why they're doing it, and how they think they can do better, I find the engagements with those people much more productive, much more honest.
Yes.
And so I think, I'm personally a student of my business and real estate, but I am a student of business itself in the sense that I'm always curious to get behind the curtain of how an organization runs and see why they do it and how they make these decisions. For us being in industrial real estate, if you think about a manufacturing plant, we get to see things and how the widgets are made that most of the world never gets to see. And so, again, very fortunate in the role I'm in to be able to ask these questions, see things and how things are produced and made. It's been a really rewarding career that way. Easy to have curiosity when you're seeing stuff most of the world doesn't get to see.
And when you are talking about rule number 2, it's not who you know, but what you know and how you engage them. And I know a lot of our listeners are networking. It's Christmas time. We're going to functions. There's so many opportunity to meet people, and really how you engage them is important. You can go to a networking event with 30 people there. However, if you're not actually letting them know what you do, putting out your key messages and building that relationship, then they're not going to know when they leave who you are, and that connection is kind of lost. Is there anything you do from a real estate perspective in regard? Do you guys network?
So networking groups, conferences, association groups, even, I don't want to even call it cold calling, but farming your market, right? Now, maybe go to a certain industry, a certain
Yeah.
property owner. And it really is about these, call it collisions, interactions, and every opportunity to be able to kind of say, how are things going for you? I mean, it's a very interesting time in the world right now. You can, with a lot of authenticity, look at anyone and say, how are things in your world?
Yeah.
And if you truly are, back to kind of the tactics of building relationships, if you're present, if you're actually listening, they will tell you a lot. And if you are curious and you continue to kind of explore what they're going through, you can find out a heck of a lot of information. And then it becomes a case of taking that intelligence, taking that context, and saying to yourself, how can I help? Now, that doesn't mean you can always help. Doesn't mean that your product, your service is going to be everything that's going to solve everybody's problems. But when you do really listen and someone does really open up, there'll be a number of different elements that you may plug in at different levels, whether it's introducing another person, introducing a service you do offer, but you really need to listen to what we're going through. And so that question of how are things in your world? How's business for you these days? If it's authentic, you can get a lot of information.
As you asked me how many projects I've done over the years, and it's well over 130, as I said. But you know what? I've never advertised.
No.
It's always come through the network. It's
Yes.
come through somebody. Now, one of the things I've seen with you is same sort of thing. Now, you do use your LinkedIn a lot, but most of it is, when I look at your LinkedIn, it's educating people. It's not self Mitchell. It's selling the knowledge.
I still have to go back to your LinkedIn post, Mitchell. I seen all the books you read this year, and I'm thinking I'm going to earmark this for later because I do need to read these as well.
You know what? And I mean, it's the so what? Like that is the fundamental question. So what? Right? You put the books out there on social media. So what? The so what for me is that you hope that someone else, Amber, Ross, someone that's a connection says, hey, those are great ideas. I read this one. You should check it out too. And you get that two-way communication. I think about some of the marketing we may do around projects that were successful. Heck, some of the projects that weren't successful. And the so what is, what did we learn? What can we take from that 130 projects? I mean, our team typically will do anywhere around 75 to 100 transactions a year. There's a lot of learning in there that can help other people in similar situations. No deal, no project is ever the same, but there are parts that is very transferable. And that kind of breadth of experience, bigger companies, smaller companies, big projects, small projects, there's always something that you can bring in the way of intelligence to another project, which is really about value, right? And you're really just trying to help someone from what you know.
As you can see, I've got the gray hair. These two have got darker hair. Over the years, when I was doing research, it was always picking up the telephone and calling people and helping people define their project. Now, what I'm finding, and you must be finding it too, is that with AI, when you go in, the people already know a fair bit about what they're doing. And the value add is, again, not what you know, not how, but it's how you engage them in it and give them a little bit more. How did you do that in a competitive industry as you were in?
I mean, I'm just trying to compartmentalize that question a bit. I think in the days here of abundant amounts of information, whether it's AI and, even going on the internet, you can find so much information, media. There's vast amounts of media that, and tools that we can never use, never absorb. And so back to even what I said about, kind of learning your own voice and what tools work for you. I think, the same thing holds true is what tool set works really well that you find effective. So for me, I think to answer your question is, what I use works for me.
Yeah.
It may not work for my partners here, even in the office. It may not work for you, but it requires a constant level of testing. Okay. And, innovation's a tricky one, right? I'm sure there's a statistic on how many things you need to try before you actually figure out something works and you keep it. But the moral of the story is with all of these tools, all of these systems, all of these new innovative technologies coming out, you must try them. You must engage with them. You must learn them. Most of them you're not going to use, but there may be one or two you do.
Interesting confession.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Confession's good for
Yeah.
Okay. I had, when I was writing our fourth book, which will be coming out, I got writer's block. And everybody said, well, go to AI, put it in. I said, no way. No frigging way I'm going to do that. I've got to do intellectual.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Well, I finally got so desperate, I went to it. And what it did was it didn't tell me what to say.
Yeah.
It helped me say what I needed to say.
Correct.
Which is different.
Correct.
And
it's a great brainstorming tool. But like you mentioned earlier that everyone has AI so they know what they're doing. And I'd like to disagree because, if I'm looking at something in my industry, I've been in public relations now for 13 years. AI can't tell me anything I don't know about public relations. It doesn't have that to look up on the internet. It can help you brainstorm. It can help you get, maybe something in your head you want to talk out, but there's that human component that it can't replace yet. And obviously it's going to get better as the years go on. But I often, gauge it for its education level. Often when we write, we have to make the education level great for the reader. I would say that ChatGPT is at about a grade 12. So it can do what an assistant can do. It can maybe write you a press release, create you a media list, but it's not going to have the rapport that you're going to get by talking to reporters and building those long-term relationships. And that is something that AI or any kind of computer system can't do for us. which is why this rule 2 is so great, because it really takes it back to the people. One of the biggest mistakes I see with young people who always say networking doesn't work. I've paid all this money to go to these things. I haven't got any connections. Often they start by being stressed. They give out their 30-second pitch, or what? This is not even young people. This is maybe people in a new industry. And I said, business owners and entrepreneurs and industry professionals, we are great at talking about ourselves and what we do. So when you go into a room, ask them what they do, and you'll have 20 minutes of conversation. You won't have to say. Naturally, the human response is going to ask you what you do, and then you're going to be able to build that rapport. So, yeah, there's a lot of things like that that AI just can't get over. It's not gonna, uh, totally overtake human connections, and we all hope it doesn't. I think it's everyone's duty in their industry to make sure we have a system and a model to have AI versus human and have them both integrated so that we can go further. But
I would even take it a step further, Amber. I think with all of the computer, the AI stuff is a tool. It's a machine. And
exactly,
that's great. Like, we have machines that make cars, we have machines that are running this podcast. Very important to have these machines. But I actually think, and if COVID showed us one thing, is that when we are taken away from other humans in connectivity, we crave it even more. And I do believe that if you become, I mean, there's a lot of reports out there about, the mental health crisis that exists, the isolation that exists because of social media. The in-person connectivity, I actually think, will be craved even more
yes,
because we use so many of these artificial intelligence tools. So I think it's one of those, I mean, and I'm, again, father of 3 younger children. If I could teach my children one habit, one, skill going into their later parts of their years, is real connectivity with people.
yes,
Not saying don't participate with AI. I'm not saying don't have social media, but know how to engage with people real time, in person, is an art that I believe is being lost, that I believe humans will crave even more.
Absolutely. I've got 2 CFOs as clients. Both of them have said to me, because they're, if you know Myers-Briggs ISTJs, right? Very introvert. And in both cases, they've said to me at different times, well, now we're going to a conference. How do we engage in a conversation?
Right, right.
And, it's getting that ability to say to someone, this is what I do, but what do you do? Just let me, and doing that finessing back and forth, which I've seen you do.
Hey, you know what I mean? It's hard. The natural tendency, walking down the street, someone's coming up to you. Do you look at them and say hello? Or do you look down at your feet, which in, the same time the other person looks down at their feet? And so, yeah, it's very uncomfortable. I mean, I don't mind sharing. When I first got into business, this is going back a number of years ago, I had a lot of anxiety around going into a room, but I actually overcame a lot of that stress by sticking your hand out and asking authentically, who are you? What do you do? As a young person, as a young business person, it's hard to get the time and the respect. But I think over time, as the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And you know what? I'll give one more. This is how I think about these connections, depending on the environment you're in. Act like a host.
Yes.
We were talking about this the other day. It may not be your event, it may not be your meeting, but when you go into the room and you're warm, you're engaging, as if someone was coming over to your house and you were a host, you act in a different manner. And so think like a
exactly.
host. I always find gives a lot of, makes it easier to engage with a room of people you may not know.
I have seen
Yeah,
these two work a room, and Amber and Mitchell work a room. It is, yeah, the host thing,
Yeah.
but it's more importantly, they're unafraid to walk up to someone and say, hi, I'm Mitchell. What do you do?
Right.
yeah,
Right.
And as well, I won't even mention Amber about networking. And if you ever want to know about networking, ladies and gentlemen, Amber with us is the person to talk to about it. Was that a commercial? Yes, it was.
Plug. Okay.
plugs are welcome. Plugs are welcome. I'll share. I have a son, and I'm gonna age myself a bit. He's 21 now. So he started high school. He did September to December, and then it was COVID. And for his entire high school career, including their graduation, it was all online. And now he's starting his life in the real world. And he's like, Mom, I feel like I'm missing the social aspect. And I said, Okay, you walk into your office. What do? Do you say good morning to everybody that you see? He's like, well, sometimes if they say good morning to me, and I'm like, you need to lead in the conversation. And mind you, all of these kids are the same age with the same COVID problem. I feel like we keep going back to COVID because it was a time where we really learned communication and networking was so important. So now he's done his education, he's starting to go into his post secondary, and he's asking me, which I love, how do I do this? How do you go into rooms and talk to people? And I didn't ever really think that this would be something that kids wouldn't know because we had to. There was no online. If you're scared to go up and present, then go up and present anyways, or you fail. You don't have the option of presenting to your teacher one on one. Like, it's great that we are restructuring our social dynamics to adhere to, the shortcoming that the younger people have in regards to getting out of their comfort zone. But it's just such an eye opener to see how really important those connections and that human aspect is. You can see young people online, and I'm talking about my son. This person is totally different than the person in real life. He is not afraid to engage, not afraid to do anything, but that is because he's in his comfort zone. He knows how to reach out. He's researched all of these things that he's doing and whatever they're playing up there. He is comfortable. So, if you are struggling to get involved or, you just have a hard time, doing your research will tell you everything. You can find out by guest lists or where you're going or the office. Find the person you want to talk to, research a little bit about them. And I know we talked about this on our last rule a little bit, but you can do a deep dive on someone's LinkedIn or, any kind of social media and find out what their likes are, where they've traveled, it's easy to find that conversation. It just takes a little bit of effort to engage those connections.
Let me throw one thing in there because I think it's vitally important is that back to the rule. Okay. It's knowing the people because we get bombarded with people that we don't necessarily need to do business with. Tire kickers. Okay. And you must get a lot of tire kickers.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I mean, it's funny. I got a cold call from somebody yesterday, and I always find them fascinating. Like, number one, even if it's a terrible pitch, terrible approach, I applaud you for picking up the phone and calling a stranger. Okay. Well, they immediately went into a narrative for about 20 minutes, couldn't even get a word in. To me, that's not necessarily the right approach. The tire kicker comment, they are trying. I think it's a case though of like a lead in sales. You must qualify it fairly quickly, right?
I have.
We just talked about this as well. Finding the right person. I mean, they did a good job if they got you, Mitchell, on a cold call. They got through the gatekeeper.
I'm a sucker. Like, hey, anybody here want to cold call me? I'll answer the call. Like you know what? And I mean, I've also, kind of like a cat with a mouse sometimes. Like I kind of like to explore how they're trying to pitch things. And sometimes you learn stuff. Sometimes, hey, I saw this and this is why I'm calling you. You can learn from everyone, right? That's like the moral of this story is, you're asking how's business, how is your world these days? You're trying to learn something. And when you learn from over here and can take it somewhere else, and you never really know what that will be, right? Like the cause work in weird way. I'm not trying to go spiritual here, but
That's
you
true.
have no idea what we may learn in this podcast and where you can use it and or take something from it in some other part of your life. And so, anybody wants to cold call me, I'll take the call. Always.
Do you want me to do that?
Heard it.
Look up Mitchell Blaine
Boy.
and you'll get him. Send him a comment, right?
Of course. Hey, you know what? It is. So I think the bigger issue for the recipient of a lot of, the tire kickers, the cold call, is the fatigue that comes with engaging with it authentically. because it is hard work. I mean, one of the things I take a lot of, I'd say, pride and a lot of effort to do is responding to anyone that engages with any of my social media. Like if you leave a comment, I'm going to respond to you. That's a lot of work, but if you're going to take the time to engage with me and make that effort, you're going to cold call me. I'm going to take a minute to say thanks. I'm not sure I can help you. Always. It's a lot of work, no doubt. I'm sure, I'm potentially missing other opportunities, but I feel there's a common respect there that if someone wants to have a 30-second conversation, I'll at least give them some time.
And I think you're absolutely right. I go back to the fact that I've never advertised.
Right.
It all comes from talking to people, and then somebody say, we can't do business. There's nothing there. But if you ever hear of anybody, and I'm going to say a good 30% of the business I've got has come through referrals.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And-
And you just, again, referrals. You have no idea who knows who and where the connectivity goes, right? I mean, the network and was it 6 degrees of separation, right? Like it's more like
It
one.
really is.
And so, again, but it is a sport in the sense of you must be engaged. You must be authentic. You must have energy. That's hard work. That's hard work. It is hard work.
There was a networking event.
It's a sport. You have to look at it as something that's enjoyable. You have to look at it as I'm out playing a game. I'm hunting, because business is one of the keys for successful business development and growing your network is to ask. Quick story. Mitchell, remember I said to you about 3 years ago, maybe a little longer, I'm looking for 2 more mentoring clients. And Mitchell said, well, there's a guy that I know from playing football with my son. And he said, I'll tell him about you. And guess what? He's been a client for 3 years. So those are important. You've got to ask people if they know anybody, if they hear anything, because that's building it all out. Anyways,
Asking is harder for people than you may think.
Can I add one more thing? And
yes.
So there are, and I think this is back to the rule, which is you can be a schmoozer, kind of the networking, go to all the cocktail receptions you want. But if you don't know how to bring value, and either through connection of other people inside the network or connection with resources, or your service, if you can't bridge that kind of jump, you're going to have a lot of problems. And so this is again where you need to really understand your own service, your own value prop, where you can help, where you can't, but you need to have both. If you have the best service or product in the world, nobody knows about it, you're not going to do squat. If all you do is network and shake hands, but have no idea what you're trying to sell in the way of your service or product, it's no good either. You must have both. You must be able to engage, explore, identify, and then offer a solution of some form. I mean, classic sales, and that's where, the execution, the fall through, and back to the moral of my story, at least, is the trust comes from. Because when you deliver on that, when you follow through on what you said, when you have the integrity, that's where people will buy you all the time.
There's a quick Ross story. I had a Land Rover dealership back in 1996. And back then, people didn't know how to research a vehicle. Okay. And when they came into the dealership, it was the job of my team to educate them on the vehicle's capability. Lately, I've had a client that sells boats that are over $200,000 for wake surfing and whatnot. Now, when the people come into that particular dealership to buy a boat, they know all about it. The sales reps there have to become not sales reps, but advisors, and say, do you know this? Can you do this? Because when they understand what the person's learned, they can build on it, and you must do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and it comes back to another cliche. People don't remember what you told them; they remember how you made it feel. And so when they come into that showroom with the boats, they're leaving with how did that feel from that interaction, that experience, right?
Yep. Anyways, this I don't want to take up more of your time. You've got a meeting. You told me at 11 o'clock. That's your 15 minutes. So you got a 4 for it. Amber, Mitchell, I got one question to ask both of you. in today's world, what 3 pieces of advice would you give our listeners?
Amber, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So in regards to building connections when you're doing networking, follow up with the people. That is the only way that you're going to turn anyone you met at any kind of networking situation into a potential client. If you don't follow up, you might as well just not go. Second, I would say have a goal. You know, and this is networking events. I guess I'm talking about that because I've been to so many in the last month and a half. That's where my head's at. So if you're going to go, most of them have at least 30 industry professionals. Meet everybody, hand out 30 cards. Business cards are not outdated. So bring them and give them out. And see how many. You have 30 people. So if you follow up with 30, 10 should get back to you, and you should have a sit down with 3, let's say. Let's do a 1 of 10. Have those numbers and make sure that you're not just going to a networking event to dress up and drink cocktails and talk. You're going there to get business. That's what you're paying for. So life is in the follow up. Have a goal when you are networking. And what's my third? I loved, Mitchell, when you were talking about integrity. I think it's something that we're losing in our social system, and it's one of my favorite attributes. So always lead with integrity, I guess, will be my third.
I piggyback on that too, especially with all the social media that's out there. It's easy to look fancy and like you've got the next greatest thing. The follow through is where you buy and really earn trust. So no doubt, the follow through, like you said, Amber, and delivering on what you promise is critical. I would just, my 2 other ones would be, curiosity. I think
That's
we're
easy.
in a time of great change. There will be some really bad things compared to where we were, but I also think there'll be a whole bunch of really exciting opportunities. And so when you engage with any person, regardless of who or what they are, with a high degree of kind of curiosity and also compassion, because people are going through a lot of challenges as well right now. I think when you're patient, compassionate, and curious, you'll find out how and if you can help anybody. So to me, those would be kind of my big takeaway.
Now, we're
Great.
just closing a couple of things. One, Amber said business cards are not dead. They're not dead. I'm going to give Amber a little accolade because she did my business card, okay? But on the back of it, she put place for notes. And one of the things I do when I talk to somebody is I don't give them a business card immediately. I wait till we're finished talking, and then I write the ideas that we talked down, and then I hand it the card and say, "This is what we talked about." Immediately, they don't throw the card out; they look at it, and it's a good chance to do it. So, anyways, I got to sign off because Mitchell got to go make some contacts and
We're going to talk to some people. That's all.
Okay.
and so
Thank you so much for your time, Mitchell. It was great to have you on.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, guys. Thanks for having me. One more thing, just I'll add it to my 3 kind of actionable items. I think these are great times to be investing and building a better operating system. Okay. As people, as businesses, as business owners or participants, I think what you guys are doing is helping people really improve their operating systems. Look, I'm in real estate, others are in landscaping or development, whatever it may be. I think really take this time to continue to invest in improving your operating systems, because that old cliche, all ships rise with the tide. When you do improve some of these fundamental systems, fundamental, kind of operating systems in business and in life, I think you'll get a lot of value and a lot of output out of it. So keep investing, guys.
So, in signing off, please go to our website if you want other ideas. On our website, ideas number 2 profit.ca, you will find all sorts of challenges and blogs that Amber and I have put together. And so, in closing, I want to say thank you to 2 of my favorite, I can get away with it, young people. And
Thank you, Ross.
Yep.
and please don't hesitate in sending Mitchell a comment or a question, and
Cool.
don't hesitate to give Amber and I a line at info. Is it info or admin at ideas?
It's info.
Info at ideas number 2 profit.ca, and we will get back to you.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.